advantage of
So
Zoom.
we're here with Dave, and we're talking about time management and disruptions. And so you got your whole schedule out, and like you're using a tracker tool like this and you get the disruption, and so you can have your phone off, and then you're not going to get it. There all kinds of disruptions. Kids come running in, dog, whatever. Maybe if you're home office, and the phone, and then I think the big thing is deciding what you value and your goals and what's most important. Because about like disruptions. When I had my home office, and my kids are growing up now, but the kids, when they're younger, and they run over and they knock on your door if you have it closed or whatever, and that's a disruption. And these are like big value things, because if you say no to your child, that could be a relationship issue that could show up 10 years later.
Yeah, that's really important. And I find too that sometimes if I don't want disruptions, then I need to create the environment that I'm not going to get the disruption. For instance, I often will go sit down at the coffee shop. There's a local grocery store in my town that I go down and I sit at, and I'll maybe have my earbuds in, and I'm looking, and I'm really intense on making some phone calls and doing my business that I want to do. And then somebody walks in, "Hey Dave, what are you doing?" They come up and start talking to me and start asking about my prosthetic legs, and start asking, "Oh, I'm so encouraging on that." And you want to engage in that conversation because it builds relationships. But now you disrupt my 90-minute of intentional what I was doing. And now how do I get back to that, and how do I prevent that? So I think that when you're going to look at disruptions, you need to do two things. You need to decide that if I get a phone call, do I take it or not take it? Because you make these phone calls and you want to make sure that you do the follow-up, and it's better, I feel, to talk to a live person than rather go to voicemail and try to chase them back down and talk to them again. So it might be something when I'm working on in the project that I'm working on, I want to talk to them. There are junk mails, so you need to make a decision what call you're going to do it. The second thing is, I think that you really need to look at your environment and say, do I want to allow for disruptions here, or do I want to put myself into a clean room where it's totally sealed and I leave my phone outside of it and I just work on this one thing? There are times I want to do that.
Totally agree. I was thinking about like people that I actually kind of maybe am less likely to disrupt. So let's say you go into Starbucks, whatever, coffee shop, and they're on their computer there, but they're on their computer and they got their headset on and they look like they're engaged, either in a meeting or whatever. I'm going to be less likely to go disrupt someone like that. Now, they don't have the headset on. They're just kind of, "Hey, how you doing?" And then, and right?
That's a good point.
So maybe the people that got the headset on, they're sending a message. I'm in the middle of something. Don't disrupt me. So it maybe it's your whole thing. I don't know. Would you put some like a barrier, pylons around you or something?
It's funny that you missed the headset, because it took me back 40, 50 years ago when I was going to college. We lived in San Jose, California, and I was going to college in San Francisco. So I rode BART for 2.5 hours each way every day. So that gave me 5 hours on the commute. What I used that time for was to study and review my notes, and I really got good grades because all of a sudden I was getting B's and A's in college my last 2 years because of that. But I found that people would sit next to you and want to disrupt you. So I did back in those days. I put headsets on like that, and people think that I'm busy with that. And what I'm doing, I'm reviewing my class. I'm actually studying, doing this. But that fact that you just said about the computer being in Starbucks really works. So you can plan for those disruptions and to do that. And I think that's going back to your tracking of the app that we're looking at here, is the difference between the block scheduling doesn't do that. Where when you go inside those block times with intention, I can plan for those disruptions. And so I could really focus for that hour block or 2 hour block.
They say the magical time is at 5 a.m. That's like the least likely. I
forget disruptions.
Well, yeah,
Well,
literally,
nobody's up.
literally, the birds were on
Believe me.
the chirping yet, and the dog was still asleep. It was like, so.
However, I did wake up the other morning, the birds chirping outside my window.
Yeah,
That's cool.
so just get up at 5 a.m. and block out the time.
So the app, I think, John, has value because it can difference from in Google or using my schedule and say, hey Siri, do this, schedule it. It doesn't allow for that intentional planning of your time.
It doesn't.
And it saves my time. So it's like what you said, I think in one of your apps on coaching, on this app, you made the comment
Questions.
that think of it like time or money, rather, like money, but money compounds. Well, I think that by doing intentional targeted time management, my time is going to compound because it builds the consistency of doing. And so I really believe that if I follow what this does 100%, I am going to increase my productivity by 100% also because of the compoundness of time.
There's a thing, it's called like a generating revenue activity. And a lot of us, we'll schedule out the social, we'll do all this stuff, and because that's easy. The people that actually set aside generating revenue, because that's the focus. It'd be like, let's say you're a salesperson. If you intentionally set that block of time and you're just making sales calls, you're more likely, to be working on the selling. And then, of course, there's health time, too. Like if you don't schedule just walking and your health and stuff, then your health then starts to become affected.
It's interesting that you said that because I just heard a statistic here last week. I live in a 65 or older community, and one of the executive directors is saying that when people get over 65, a lot of the stuff that they have that comes to them that takes their life, or